And welcome back. We're here having so much fun with Kim. It's been a long time since we got together, and we're very, very grateful. He's here actually on vacation, spending some time with his wife, and we were able to snuggle him for an hour so you could get some valuable content, some ideas, so hopefully you can also manifest your dreams. But Kim is a person that I have a deep admiration over a couple of decades now, because he's somebody that has been able to set goals, whether they were in business, whether in travel, relationships, even fun. He's very, very self-directed and goal-motivated, and has been able to manifest businesses doing multi-million dollars all over the world. Happily married now, and he was sharing last night a little bit about how that relationship came into play. So he's somebody that you can learn from, and we like you to get some tips, some strategies, and some inspiration so you could actually go and manifest your dreams. So Kim, welcome to our show, and we're very, very grateful that you can share some stories with us. Why don't you share with our viewers a couple of occasions where you use your imagination, goal setting, and things that you wanted actually got manifested eventually. I'm sure you have a couple of good stories like that, right?
I don't know if they're good, but I think they're good. They certainly
we'll see what they say, right?
They certainly have been pretty profound in my life. And a lot of times success in anything really starts with making a decision. And I, as simple as that sounds, it's kind of like drawing that line in the sand. Now, that doesn't mean that people that are successful, that they haven't had challenges. Pretty much anybody that I know of that have ever had success, I always tell people, I said, the only difference between you sitting there taking notes and me talking to you is because I've had more no's than you have. I've had more people, either more disappointments or whatever, but you keep going.
What is
it that keeps you going? It's when you have that clear vision of why you're doing what you're doing, right? And if we're talking specifically about business, a lot of times your success will be in direct proportion to your leadership abilities, right? Well, how are you going to lead others if you don't know where you're going? It's kind of like you decide to get involved with a new venture, and you go, hey, John, where are we going? And John says, well, I don't know, follow me. That's not a really good plan, right?
No, I don't think I would follow like that, right?
So the more you start looking into not just, hey, I got to put my goals in writing and that's about it. The more you really start to understand how it goes to work on your subconscious mind, the more you start to realize the power of it. And I remember I was sitting at a training seminar many, many years ago, and the individual that was doing this particular segment, he said, went through all the stuff that we're talking about, the importance of setting goals and the importance of putting timelines on it, and making it very specific, and it's not just about money. I mean, it can certainly be money, it can be success in business, but it's also your health, it's your relationships, it's your spiritual life, other areas that you want to improve on. And then he also said that once you've kind of committed your dreams and goals to paper, then go out and create a vision board. And I'm one of these crazy people, Pablo, that I've learned to follow successful people, and I've done my best to stay away from unsuccessful people, what they're doing, right?
That's a good idea. That's a good idea to begin with, right?
So when the guy is doing it, he says, this is what you should go do. I actually went and did it.
You went and did it, right?
So nowadays, and I'm not telling you something you probably don't already know, you got all these fancy software programs, and you can go in and make these things look real good with put pictures, of what you'd like your life to look like. Back then, I just went out and got a cardboard and some magazines, and I started, cutting and pasting and that kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
And growing up in Europe, my dad was a BMW guy.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
Growing up around that, I became a BMW guy, right? And so that was like one of my dreams. That
you wanted to get that
one day I was going to get my BMW.
All right.
And so I remember going back, and I was making this vision board, and I got a picture of a BMW, put it right smack in the middle of my vision board with a bunch of other things, of what I would like to accomplish in my life. And then as I had moved over the years, I'd actually lost track of this particular, it was just an 8.5 by 11.
Okay.
And I'd gotten started with a business that within a couple of years I achieved, by most people's standards, a pretty high level of success. And I just bought my new house, and I'm sitting there on the floor waiting for the furniture to be delivered. And obviously I was excited, I was proud, I felt very accomplished. At the time I was single, so I had this bachelor pad with the pool and
nice.
The whole 9 yards, right? And then I'm sitting there and going like, I need a new car to put in the garage, right?
You have the garage now,
Yeah.
and we need to fill it up, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm really dating myself because this is way back when BMW, they had just changed their body style from like the old square style to the new sleek one. Right?
Okay.
And I had my eyes set on this BMW 5 Series. I just thought that was the sweetest thing I'd ever seen, right? So I go down to the dealership and, talk to the sales guy. We get in the car, we're driving around, and he's asking me what I do. And I told him, he says, well, if money is not a big issue, he says, you really should try the 7 Series. And I'm like, I got time, so
Sure,
let's do it.
why
Right? Drove back to the car lot, put me in a 7 Series, and driving out, and we're just on the road there. And now I got to be the first to admit that these days, I'm not into material things. I mean, it's like been there, done that. But I got to tell you, back then, within 30 seconds of driving down the road, I had a spiritual experience. I don't know if you've ever been in one of those things. So, needless to say, after they took me into the confession chamber where you get
Yes.
to confess all your sins
your
before
sins.
they'll let you
That's
buy the
right.
car, right? I ended up driving out of there as a happy owner of a BMW 745. Right?
Wow.
Now, here's the reason I'm telling you that story. About a week or 2 weeks later, I'm unpacking all my stuff in my new house. And at the bottom of one of these boxes, I find my old vision board.
No
or treasure
way.
map. And I probably hadn't looked at it in about 10 or 12 years at the time,
Wow.
right? I didn't know what had happened to it. And there was a picture of a BMW in the middle of that vision board. So the big question is, do you think that picture was of a BMW 5 Series or of a 7 Series? It was obviously a 7 Series. I'd already put in the order. It was just delayed delivery.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's impressive.
I mean, it's for me when I found that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this stuff really works, right?
Absolutely.
Now, I had
That is
seen
amazing.
it. I had seen it throughout my years in kind of small areas, but that had a huge impact on me. for
But it was
sure.
very concrete. I mean, that's something like
Absolutely.
very concrete, very much in your face.
Absolutely, yeah.
And one of the things that people don't realize is that every single thought we have is creative. It's not just a few, right? It's not like 5 minutes that I sit down. It's every single thought we have is creative,
Yeah.
and every single thought we have actually gets imprinted in our subconscious mind, and it's always going to be there. It just needs us to consciously retrieve it, or sometimes things just happen in a way that even today we can understand. I mean,
Yeah.
this book was written like almost 100 years ago,
Yeah.
and even today we still can understand those things, but that doesn't make them any more valuable or any more true, right? That's
Absolutely.
fantastic. So my
Absolutely.
recommendation to you is, if you don't have a vision board yet, right? Why not, right? Why not? Just get a few pictures together.
Yeah.
And the idea is also have it close to you. Right now, you could actually have a vision board, put it on a digital form, and put it in your smartphone.
Absolutely.
So every time you get a phone call, it's right there. Even if you're not paying attention,
Yeah.
it's getting to your subconscious life. That's a fantastic story. Fantastic story. And we had a guest a couple of weeks ago, Jeff Ashby, where actually this guy had his vision board in a full wall.
Yep.
In the full wall, and that's incredible. It's just like, but there's something that we have to have it somehow, right?
Absolutely.
You have to decide on what you want. And the other thing, like you mentioned, is like we don't know the time it's gonna take, and we live in a microwave mentality where everybody wants like 90 seconds, and
Yep.
it needs to come right now,
Yep.
or I don't want it anymore. So, what other stories you have like that?
And that's a really good point, because I think that's another reason why people feel like a failure if they don't achieve their goal in the timeline they've laid out.
Right.
I've achieved a lot of things in my life, but there are also goals that I did not achieve by the deadline, I'd say.
Right.
But then I had to go back to plan, do, review. Right?
Exactly.
It's like, okay, here's the goal. I didn't quite get to it. What do I need to adjust? So I did achieve those goals, but it just took longer, right? Because there were some things that in my business plan, they were not working the way I wanted them
Yeah,
to.
and
or
things
what have you.
happen that we don't know. We have
Absolutely.
no control over other things that happen, right?
And there are goals that I have never achieved, sometimes when you let your dreams, go haywire, if you will.
And
go
that's a
crazy,
good thing, because
that's okay.
that means you're thinking high enough,
That's
right?
okay. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not like you're not a failure if you don't reach your goal in
Exactly.
the timeline, but without having them at all,
Exactly.
you're going to be one of the masses that are working paycheck to paycheck and suffering from the syndrome of too much month left at the end of the money, right? That so many people do. But yeah, I do want to tell you another story because,
Yes.
as I said before, it's not all about money, right? So here I am sitting in my beautiful house, having my BMW in the garage, right? So all I really needed was a relationship, right? At the time, I'd been single for, I don't know, 10, 12 years or something like that. And I thought, well, now would be a good time, So I actually took out my journal and sat down, and in minute detail, I described the woman that I wanted to attract, like her personality and, the interaction with her and I, and so on and so forth, right? And a number of years after I had actually put this in my journal, I met a woman, and we started dating, and it went really, really well, and I think we had dated for like 6 years, and we decided to get married, right?
Okay.
So she's originally from Philadelphia, so her family, we decided to do this in Maui. So her family, they're flying to Maui. My family from Denmark, my mom and dad, they came all the way over from Copenhagen, and we had a great get together, right?
Oh, I can imagine. In Maui.
Oh yeah, so we got married on the
Wow.
beach, and it was beautiful, and everybody got along. We had a good time, and then at the dinner that night, after everything was over and done with, I pulled out my journal,
No way.
and I read my description to the whole family of the woman that I wanted to attract.
Wow.
And you could have heard a pin drop in that room. Every single one of them sat with their mouth open, and they were like, that's her. Like, how did you do that? Right? So there is magic and power in what we're talking about here. I encourage you to take the time to do the same, whether it's relationships, your health, your financial success, or whatever it might be.
And that is so powerful that you mentioned. And you've been married now how long?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that, right? It's for
Approximately.
This is our 7th year. Yeah.
One of the things that is very interesting to me is relationships. It is a huge part. I mean, there's 100 million singles in the U.S.
Wow.
100 million people are single in the U.S., right? So, I'm single myself, so I need to actually rewrite my definition of my ideal partnership. But one of the things that I learned is that so many people are complaining about the last relationships they had. Here is like, most women here in Vegas, they think they cannot meet a good man, right? And I'm going like, where are you looking for people? There's a lot of really good men, and the guys are the same way, right? And then when you find out where guys try to meet women, and so of course you're going to be complaining about who you're meeting. So remember that every single thought is creative. So if you're complaining about the last relationship you have, guess what you're creating? An anchor, right? So we have more stories with Kim. I have a couple of good questions to ask you. So you're going to come back. You're in manifesting your dreams. You're going to come back because we want you to get inspired so you can make a decision. You can define what you want. Then you can take action and you can manifest your dreams. We'll be right back.